pick here, it still opens the door, I think, some of these performances for players that weren't in this squad, like Widdop,
Yeah.
like Hill.
I think what's more happened is players have almost ruled themselves out by their performances rather than ruled themselves in. Or certainly left question marks following the performance.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not quite sure anyone was, other than maybe... I feel like Gale's ruled himself out, but that's for me. I don't necessarily think that Wayne will think the same way. To me, yeah, I get exactly what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, certainly everyone in the squad, apart from those three players that I mentioned, I feel has got question marks over whether they're good enough to be in that World Cup side come the game against Samoa.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it is an interesting point what somebody made about about the big players, you satires and you poorly, when we're playing teams like
it's David again. If we give him another compliment, then he'll start sending in more dodgy reviews on the Origin game that we're going to have to talk about in half an hour. Well, about an hour probably.
Yeah, but no, I do think, it's something that we've really got to be thinking about. Or Sean Wayne's really got to be thinking about anyway.
Yeah. Now, throw Walmsley, Thompson, Burgess into that mix, with the way Knowles performed, it starts to look and feel a little bit different. Cooper, I think, was okay. Nothing wrong with his performance either. I think you got the makings of your group that you want to be picking on game day for your middles, but it's still, like you say, the players that were out there that day didn't match up necessarily well. Matauti was good, weren't he, for the Combies? I thought he was very good.
Yeah, obviously I'd pick out Sav as having a good game as well, I thought.
I'll level with you. I didn't really notice too much out of him. But
I mean, that's the difference, isn't it? You notice your own players more than...
Yeah, probably so, yeah. Kenny Edwards was treating it like it was a very much do or die kind of game, and he was behaving in all of the Kenny Edwards' ways that makes him kind of hard to take your eyes off, in both the positives with his lines and his offloads and the negatives with his whinging and his throttling people and all that sort of business.
And him screaming for the knock-on against... was it when Bateman got injured? He's screaming, knock on, and then he suddenly realises he's injured and starts then screaming, injury!
Again, showing you all parts to what he is.
Yeah.
I do think that the Combies were lucky, because Jake Connor definitely knocked on their third try, the Kensio's second try. There was definitely a knock-on from Jake Connor in the build-up to that. I'm unsure why they decided the camera angle didn't show it when it clearly, you could see on two angles, his fingers bending back.
I think if it had gone up as a try, it'd have come, because it went up a try, it came down a try. Yeah. I think if it had gone up no try, it'd have come down no try.
Maybe so, yeah. But then again, I'm not sure England would have deserved it, even if they'd have won from that. So
no.
Plenty to work on. I can only imagine how different the post-match comments from Sean Wayne would have been if that was a Wigan game going into the playoffs at the back end of a season versus the first game he's had for England, trying to build everyone's confidence for a World Cup.
One thing, though, the dressing room, I imagine the Combies dressing room would have been a fun place to have been after the match.
That's for sure, yeah. And that Combies line of Tom Andrews works in so many ways, because even the kit was a bit, bumblebee with the black and yellow.
It was a nice kit, actually. I liked it.
I bought it.
Yeah.
One last line then from you, Sarah, on the concept. What do you think of the concept? Obviously not a standalone fixture, but do you think this is actually a good idea to do in the future still? Can we build on this?
I don't know. I'm really uncertain because, I know that in Australia they have the Origin game and, that works well. It's high intensity and everything else. I think my concern is, especially this season, but generally it's just your players getting injured in a sort of nothing match.
Yeah, it's how do we match that meaning and intensity when sometimes this can feel a bit more like an exhibition.
Yeah, and I think, like, I always think back to the Yorkshire-Lancashire match, I've got no idea how many years ago, but that basically ended Steve Prescott's career with a knee injury. And then, obviously, you know, we had Connor injured on Friday, and Tim Sheens has said...
Tommy Luluai's season was ended in the Exiles game in 2012 when Wigan were the best team in the competition at that point. He gets knocked out. We lose the semi-final a couple of weeks later, and it wasn't the same end to the season as it was before then. You know, I think we can all remember examples, can't we? It's how much we make these games mean something, so that those instances aren't what we're taking away from it. Like, it isn't what Matt said about the story becomes the injuries. It's more, this game's more important than the injuries.
Yeah, and I don't know quite how we get to that point, because I feel like, I mean, I don't know whether it's down to, you know, strength of depth in club squads or what it is, but, you know, you lose a Luluai, and, you know, that is a massive thing for your team. And the same with, you know, any player that is selected to play for it is going to be massive for your club, aren't they?
I think that's where we've got the mindset, though, of club over country still comes in, and that's fed through by how the clubs have treated the game. I think maybe we'll never get over that hump if it's this style of game, because like John said about it, keep it as an invitational side that are going to play entertaining open rugby. That's great. We love that idea, but at the same time, it becomes an exhibition, not an intense match. So, not saying this game lacked in intensity, it was more intense than I was actually expecting from the combis.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we need something, but whether this is that, I'm not sure. We'll find out, like you say.
Yeah.
Right, one more international to talk about. It was the Wheelchair International, England versus Wales. It was world rank side number 2 England against world rank side number 3 Wales. It was 42 points to 10 at half time. England nailed the second half, 102 points to 22 it ended. For England, there were tries from Joe Coyd, who scored 4, Adam Rigby, who scored 3, Captain Tom Halliwell, who also scored 3, and Robert Hawkins, also a hat-trick hero. Sebastian Bachara, coming over from the Catalans, scored 2. Nathan Collins, who was the player of the match, and Wayne Boardman also grabbing tries for England. For Wales, Scott Trigg-Turner grabbed a couple of tries and was probably their best performer on the day. Stephen Halsey and Andrew Higgins grabbed their other tries. I'm slightly disappointed that there was only the one fan view from this game, seeing as it was out there to watch on the BBC. But do you want to take us through the fan view?
Yep, Dr. Hideous said Wales started both halves well. They spent much of the first 10 minutes of the match on England's goal line, and I'm a bit surprised England didn't at least get a warning for repeated penalties. But Wales couldn't keep up with England's accurate, quick passing and movement. The whole game was, as I have come to expect, the best of what RL offers, played hard by fine athletes in good spirit.
Yeah, it was a really good game, and I'm not as versed in the wheelchair version of the game as I am the other versions of the game. You know, I would say it's probably only the third wheelchair game that I've watched the whole game of, so certainly don't know it as well, but this was a really entertaining game. I'm not sure that they do team warnings in the wheelchair game. We'll have to ask Joshua, because that might be an area of the game that you can referee while still playing in the.
Yeah, well, they've been away with team warnings generally, haven't they? So.
Have they?
Yeah.
No, they still exist.
No, they don't. I learnt that whilst sitting off screen on his course last week.
What, in all levels of the game, team warnings have gone?
Certainly Super League, they have, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But didn't a player get sin-binned in your game for persistent infringements?
Well, he got sin-binned. He was the third player to commit a high shot within about 4 tackles, but there was never a team warning.
Well, Ollie Russell didn't actually commit the high shot, did he? It was Sam Wood who took him high, but Ollie Russell got sin-binned. But I think Ollie Russell had given away a couple of penalties just before. I don't know.
Yeah, no, the team warning as in a signal does not exist. It might still exist in the match official's brain.
Right, so in the way they manage the game, they will warn teams, but it's not a formal signal.
I don't even know that they will warn teams. I mean, they may do say, the next one is off, or they may not say that. I'm not sure, but I know that team warnings do no longer exist.
Right, fair enough. Back to the game. There were some great pieces of skill, and people who haven't watched wheelchair rugby league, you'll get the chance to in the World Cup, and you'll see that much unlike wheelchair rugby, quote unquote, this is like rugby league. It's played like rugby league. They have a play of the ball. They have a conversion. It's just a condensed version with like 5 players per team on the court at one time, on the pitch at one time, and they kick, but with their hands. I'd encourage more people to watch it because it's really quite amazing. Some of the times where you've got people's chairs flipping over and in some of the contacts and stuff is just it's exactly what David said. It's played hard by fine athletes in a good spirit, and to be a fine athlete in the wheelchair game, you might not never have been able to have that body type and been a fine athlete in the running game, but it works for the guys in this because it's more about how you can maneuver your shoulders so you don't get tagged, and how you can get your offloads away and that sort of stuff. But it was a very exciting game to watch. That's absolutely for certain. If you get a chance, check out in particular the try scored on the stroke of half time by Joe Coyd, from the kick through from Nathan Collins, who was the star of the show in many ways. It was really exciting stuff, and kind of real body before, like, putting your body on the line, trying to score a try ahead of self-preservation, all the things we love to see out of committed rugby league players. So I would recommend going and checking it. It'll still be on the iPlayer for anyone who wants to.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I'll try and watch that maybe tomorrow.
Yep, definitely. Good stuff. Right, let's talk about the Super League games, and we probably won't spend as much time on these, but we will give them fair due all the same. Do you want to start us off with the first one of those, Sarah?
Yeah, so it was round 11 of the Super League, and the first game of the week was Castleford against Catalans, which finished Catalans 16, Castleford 6. At half-time, it was 8-0 to Catalans, and it was refereed by Chris Kendall. In terms of team stats, they were quite close, with Cas winning some key stats in successful offloads and team tackle success rate. But Catalans made 4 fewer errors, picking up over 100 more metres, an extra clean break, and 3 tries to 1. Individually, Mikhail Goudimond made 40 tackles and ran for 129 metres. Julien Bousquet with 11 marker tackles, 128 metres, and 3 successful offloads. Matau Leguer with 1 try and 110 metres. Fuad Yaha with 1 try and 102 metres. For the losing Castleford Tigers, Daryl Alferts made our stats roundup with 1 try, 5 tackle busts and 216 metres and 2 clean breaks. George Griffin with 52 tackles, of which 13 were marker tackles. Daniel Smith, 52 tackles, 106 metres and 3 successful offloads. And Nathan Massey with 115 metres. Fan views. Carsten got in touch and said, well, Richardson is worse than Kendall, and Catalan's defence was quite impressive.
I'll double up with Fatboy_Rob, who said, a solid effort from Cass considering the team. Defensively we were strong but had nothing in attack, with Watts in the halves and Claire and Martin in the backs. I mean, Claire is a back, but fair enough. The young forwards stood up well to a massive French pack, so overall I'm pleased. I was going to wait for the replay to become available for submitting, so I may retract, but I thought the first 3 Catalans tries were suspect, 2 knock-ons and a foot in touch. Hashtag Coif. And then Fatboy Rob got in touch as well to say he was fucking right. He's watched the key points back and no retraction is required. Hashtag robbed. Well, I would disagree with him